Welcome to the Listen Up Podcast. I am your host, Davidito, and we back like we never left. And since you're back, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Today's guest is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, originally from New York. Today we're going to learn a little bit about his experience, how he became a self-taught shoe customizer, how a project with his daughter became into a side hustle and a side job doing customized shoes. Welcome to the podcast.
Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim core. Davidito, he'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have you introduce yourself to the audience, kind of let them know who you are, where you're from.
BK from Soul Obsession, artist and owner, originally from Brooklyn, New York, currently staying out here in Georgia right now.
Okay. That has to be different for you to be in Georgia versus New York.
Yeah, it was a big change.
So, wanted to talk to you a little bit about your art, your shoes. Been kind of watching some of your videos and stuff for a while. So what kind of got you into doing art?
What got me started doing this was actually my daughter. We started out doing just going out buying a pair of shoes and something to do for the day, and it became what it is now.
So you said your daughter got you into doing it. What? So give me a little bit of that backstory. What did that look like?
One day we just went out to the mall, did some shopping, got some shoes. Started out with a pair of Hirachis, some Nike Hirachis, and she wanted to do something because they was all white. And she's like, I like them, but they need something. So I said, okay, cool. So we went to Walmart, bought some paint, some basic paint, and we came up with an idea to do some splatter paint on some custom shoes. And about a week or two later, we went back to go get some more, and we was actually wearing them. So someone stopped us and asked us where we got them from. And I was like, well, we customized them together as a daddy-daughter project. And they was like, wow, I would actually like to have a pair of these. And that would kind of spark the whole Soul Obsession movement.
Okay. Huh. So how long ago was that?
That was back in 2020. I've been doing this for 4 years now.
Okay. Nice. So you've been being consistent with it for 4 years. So from that first exchange of interest, how did you go about building your network and also building your business?
Basically, it started out just by word of mouth. I just started practicing on shoes I had laying around the house, and then I started doing my research and graduated to going to DH Gate to get actual shoes, Jordans, different type of shoes to work with. And I know the quality of DH Gate wasn't all that great, but it made me learn how to actually deal with certain types of fabrics or leather, whether it's good quality, low quality. And then I transferred from doing DH Gate shoes to actually going to Walmart and buying those shoes and started working on those and customizing and perfecting my craft. So once I got past that, I started actually doing actual sneakers, and I'm continue on doing the same thing. I still practice with Walmart shoes. I'll find a pair that's similar to a Nike pair, and I'll try. And if I'm trying a new technique, I'll do it on that first before I actually jump onto someone or a client's shoe.
Okay. So how long did you do that practice? I love the idea of starting in that space and then, gradually getting better. I feel like some people feel like, oh, I could just pick it up and, do it. So how long did you actually say practice, okay, hone this skill before you actually said, okay, let me go buy one from the sneaker store?
It roughly took me about a good 4 months to get it down. But I'm always constantly learning new techniques, new styles. Or if I have a concept in my head, I'll try it out first. and see if I like it or what's the downside of doing this type of custom, and then I try to tweak it to make it usable or perfect it to be better.
So one of the obstacles that as a shoe customizer that you run against is different materials, right? What would you say is the easiest material for you to work on, and what would you say is the hardest material and why?
The easiest is always going to be leather or mesh material. That's always going to be the easiest. The hardest one would be, I would have to say, is the plastic or like a hard material such as like a foam posit. Now those are pretty rough if you don't do it like do the prep work the right way. It
Yeah,
would be difficult.
I haven't touched any foams. I'm honestly kind of afraid of them, and I also haven't touched any Jordan 11s. I really don't want to mess with the patent leather. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those two things, seen some people that have done it and have done phenomenal job with them. They just make me nervous.
Oh yeah. I haven't done patent leather, but I have done foam posits. Patent leather, the way to prep those is pretty much like sandpaper and Scotch Brite, pretty much, just to get the factory material. I mean, the factory protection off of there and get it to the raw patent leather, and then the rest is just easy. The only thing that I'm not too sure about with patent leather is how to rebuild that shine.
Yeah,
Because I heard different people use like different types of top coats. I'm just haven't gone there yet.
yeah, yeah. Me either. I'm like I said, it's one of those things that kind of make me nervous, especially when you have a translucent sole. I'm like, how do you cover the little piece that's right at the front of the toe box? You know what I'm saying? Especially if you
Yeah,
change the color. So like little stuff like that. Like, nah, I'd rather not touch them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I do something else. Um, but with that said, what would you say is your favorite shoe to work on?
My favorite shoe to work on, I really don't have a favorite, but if I would have to say, it'd probably be an Air Force One or a Jordan One. I would say those are probably the easiest ones to do. Well, it's real simplified, not a lot of material stitched together. So the least, the better. But I would have to say either one of those two type of shoes.
So you said you've been doing this for about 4 years, so you've had quite a few experiences with different customers, right?
Yes.
One, what does that process look like for you? And then two, what would you say has probably been the wildest story or exchange that's happened with a pair of custom shoes?
The wildest exchange. Recently, well, about a couple months back, we had a real bad storm. I think it was like around in October, October sometime. We had a real bad storm, and I was doing the client's custom, and I couldn't get it shipped out because everything was down. Post office, UPS was down. So I had to actually take the shoes out there to them, which was only a 3 hour drive. And once I got there, they pretty much, was emphatic and in love with the custom.
That's crazy. So you drove 3 hours one way?
Yeah, 3 hours one way. I drove from here in Georgia to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow, that's some dedication right there. Customer service at its finest, they would say, right? Like,
Definitely, definitely.
yeah, yeah, that's taking it above and beyond, man. What would you say is the biggest thing that you learned so far?
Patience, patience. The reason why I say patience is because me myself, I hate prepping the shoe. That is just it just like drags from me. But once I get past prepping it and taping them off and everything, getting them all prepped up, I'm ready to go. But to me, that's like the most horrific thing for me. I can't stand prepping. But it's important. It's the most important piece to doing a custom if you want it done correctly.
Yeah, and if you want it to last longer.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't like either. I don't like taping. This is the part I really don't like. I really don't like
Yeah.
taping. I was taping some up earlier this week, and I'm like trying to figure out how do I make this faster. Like, uh,
Yeah.
it just takes so long.
And
But
some people just like to throw the tape on the shoe and then use an X-Acto knife to cut the fat off of there. Or like me, I just take small pieces at a time to make sure I'm getting it covered completely right. You know?
yeah, I try to take time with it just to avoid as many bleeds as possible. You know,
Exactly.
because then I start taking the tape off and I got to bleed, and now I'm upset because I'm like, dang it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only part. I'm like, how do I make this process faster, but also, you know what I'm saying, get it done the way that I need to get it done. But that's the part that I definitely don't like. But it is a part of the process. It's necessary.
Right. Yeah, it's the most important part of the process.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what gave you the courage, or the gumption, or even enough belief in yourself to say I'm gonna do this as an entrepreneur, right? Whether it's your main gig or side gig, what gave you that?
The satisfaction from the customers, I would say. Once I did my very first custom, I started out in my own personal shoes. I was like, I could actually do this. So once I started getting customers and I started to sort of benefits from it, because I wouldn't say I do it for the money. I do it for the love and just to see someone happy that they got a customer that they really wanted. So that would be my biggest thing. Would be like the joy of doing it is what I get the most out of it.
Yeah. What would you say is the number one question that you get from people
What
about
kind of paint do
customers?
I use?
Okay.
What kind of paint do I use? Yeah, that's like the number one question. What paint do I use?
I feel like I get how much do they cost? A lot, a lot.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard to base a price when you just get a question like that, or like what type of what type of pricing you going. It just for me it depends on the custom. It depends on the custom and the time that you got to invest in that custom.
Yeah. The other thing that I started thinking about was the artwork, right? Like I have to come up with the design and present it to the customer and get your approval, but that also takes time, right? So, I mean, part of the question is like, do I charge for that? Do I incorporate it in the overall, you know what I'm saying? Or if they say, oh, I like it, but I'm not gonna move forward with it at this time, well, I just wasted this time designing this custom for you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's one of the things I've been mulling over, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to start charging
yeah.
for the artwork.
I actually charge for a mock-up. When I do my mock-ups, I actually charge them, and then if they agree or approve it, I deduct that from the final cost.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's a good method. I like that thought process there. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to start charging for artwork because that's happened a couple times. I've done the artwork and I'm like, okay, here you go, and they're like, oh yeah, I like them, but I think I'm gonna hold off. And I'm like, I just spent all
Yeah,
this time, so
I know how you feel on that because I when I started out before I started actually doing mock-ups and learning how to use Procreate to make my mock-ups, I would just jump straight in and just do the custom or and then it'd be like they'll call me or send me a message, hey, can you add this to the custom? And I'm like either halfway through it or almost completed the custom. So now I was really like I said, I gotta find a way to do the custom before I actually do it. Like show them a mock up, have them approve it. I give them like 1 to 2 days if they got any changes or want to add something, let me know. But once I actually initially start, there's no going back.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Non-refundable at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So something I believe I thought I saw. You had a paint shaker machine or something like that.
Yes.
Where did you get that from? Because I'm telling you, my arm is tired of doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I actually found it on Amazon.
hmm.
Yeah, they got several different types, but that one I really like that one. But after a while, it just wore out. So I went and bought like the chemistry set, the chemistry version, like they use in actual labs. Those work outstanding.
Mm.
Yeah, but you can
Okay.
find it on Amazon.
All right. I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm telling you, this that man. I'm like, I'm tired of shaking this paint up. Like,
What I used to do before I got the paint shaker, I actually went and bought like some marbles from like Joanne or like beads from Joanne or something like that, and actually dropped them in the paint. So that way the paint can, once the balls start
yeah,
rattling, they start shaking up the paint better, and you get a better mixture. That works well too. But definitely, I would definitely say get a paint shaker.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Alpha 6 already comes with that, but Angelus doesn't. So, but like, you know what I'm saying? But they still, especially after they sit for a while, you got like, you trying to get the little marble or whatever just to release enough so you can get the paint moving around. So I saw that. I was like, where in the world did you get that from? I need that. That could have saved me so much time.
Definitely, you can find it on Amazon. The particular one I had, it actually has a strap that you can do the actual paint, all different sizes of like Angelus paint, and then on top of that, it could actually do like the Posca paint markers. And
Yeah,
if you buy the Angelus marker set, I don't know if you ever seen it before,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, you got to fill it and all that. So I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So I went and out and found Posca pens, which is like the best ones on the market. Besides, I think there's one called is from an anime cartoon show, Gunther or Gunham or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those work well too.
Okay, okay. So, would you say you do a lot of airbrush work, a lot of freehand work? What is your go to?
My go-to is usually airbrushing because I do a lot of like uh what's the word I'm looking for? Just like basic artwork, like like abstract. That's what I was looking
Okay.
for. Like abstract artwork. I do a lot of that. But usually like I do some when I want to do some fine detailing, then I'll bring out the paintbrushes and stuff like that. But mostly I use airbrush.
Yeah, mine is kind of all over the board. It just depends on like what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Or if my airbrush is acting stupid. Um, that happened to me the other day. I was like all ready to get some stencil work done, and airbrush started acting stupid. So yeah,
Yeah.
take it apart and clean it and do all that stuff. But
I actually upgraded my whole setup, my whole airbrush setup now, so I'm pretty much good now.
that's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking at some other ones too that should be a lot better than this. So, but yeah, that's just part of it, right? Just part of the process and problem solving as you go along. So,
Yeah.
so what is something that you're working on that you're excited about?
I just started doing some I don't know if you came across it yet, the tattoos, the temporary tattoos. I
Mm-hmm.
just started doing that and I like how it came out. I did like a practice set on a pair of shoes and I really like the outcome. And I'm working also on my second pair of roller skates.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm excited about the roller skates though. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I've I've been telling myself I'm gonna do a pair of rollerblades because I see a
Yeah.
bunch of people doing roller skates, but I want to do a pair of rollerblades. But I also want to like take a shoe or either uh, sew a shoe together and then make the rollerblade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of my goals. I want to actually like deconstruct a pair of shoes and reconstruct them with different types of materials. I know
yeah.
a couple of people that I've been studying and watching, and I got a partner out in Atlanta that actually does that, and we've been connected here and there. So he's going to teach me, and let me know how to where to find resources to get the actual stuff to cut the materials with like the templates and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm about that too.
Yeah, that's the next big thing I think I want to try to accomplish. I've done some hand stuff, but I think that would be the next thing that I really want to try to jump in is just sewing a pair from scratch, and doing my own thing there. I think that would be really really dope and really cool. So
Yeah. The only downside to it, you got to find the right market for that.
yeah,
Yeah, 'cause you can't do those and be selling them for like 250. You know,
no,
that's a lot of labor. That's a lot of
mhm.
labor. Test labor.
Yeah. I figured the first couple will just be for me. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Because I gotta get the practice in and know how to stretch the material correctly, and you know what I'm saying, like the bottom of it and how it's constructed is one of the things I feel like is going to be a huge learning curve. Um,
main
but
thing for me was probably putting them back together.
yeah,
The whole process of putting them back together. That's the most concerning part. I think everything else is pretty much easy because it's like a template that you use to cut the
hmm
material with, and sewing it back together is not too bad. I've done a couple of sewing jobs with my customs, but just actually taking the shoe and putting it on that shoehorn and nailing it back together using the cork in and all, that's the stuff that I pretty much pay a lot of attention to because I don't want to mess that part up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. The lasting part of it and all that stuff. Yeah, I know. I probably probably missed some of it up for sure.
Yeah.
Um, who would you say you were talking about? Watching different people and studying them. Who are some of the people that you're looking at
Oh
as
man,
inspiration?
my number one on my list would have to be De
Hmm.
Jesus.
Yep, Dylan.
Yeah, Serato,
Hmm.
uh, Caddy Customs. That's where I started from. That's where I started learning from, just watching their videos. And I actually got to talk to Dylan via text and email. He helped me out a lot. And just basically just watching their videos, just constantly repeating, watching them, and just learning the tricks from what they learned and incorporating some of my own tricks that I learned from doing customs. But yeah, those are some pretty dope artists. Those
Yeah,
that's probably like my top three right there.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was very very fortunate to have Dylan on the podcast. So um,
Yeah, I've seen it.
yeah, extreme shout out to him for doing that. That was he didn't have to do that. That was a blessing for sure.
Yeah.
So you said you've been doing this for about 4 years now. Um, give me your top five custom shoes that you created.
Top five. I'm gonna put them in the top five, but not in any particular order. It would have to be my I had done a pair of Jordan ones. That was a Wu-Tang thing. That's one. I did a pair of Air Force One Nikes, um, ice cream thing. There was another. I actually did two. One was the Air Force one was the Jordan one. Let's see. I got. I did another custom that was abstract that I kind of got the concept from Dylan that I seen that I like. I just changed the colors and changed all the stencil work, but it came out pretty dope. Um, my first pair of roller skates and my first pair of Timberlands.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, okay. So I know you're from New York. Um, so I'm assuming that you like hip hop. Just an assumption.
Yes, of course.
All right, give me let's say your Mount Rushmore for hip hop artists.
Oh man. Oh, that's kind of tough because wow. I would have to say Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, Big Daddy Kane, and Biz Markie.
Okay. So why those?
Well, Biz Markie was like the very first person I noticed that he brought the comedy to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And from spawned from that, you had Old Dirty Bastard, uh, Busta Rhymes, Missy, Ludacris. So he was like the blueprint of that. Jay-Z, of course, dope lyricist, probably one of the greatest of all times. I know that's always debatable. Uh, Nas for his storytelling. Uh, Big Daddy Kane, he was just a smooth brother. There's no denying that. He was probably like the smoothest in the game. So that would be my Mount Rushmore.
Okay. All right. Hmm. I like it. No newer guys in there though. Just all older, all old school.
Newer, it depends. I would probably say like Uncle Murder. That's a good honorable mention. Uh, I'm a real fan of hip hop, but for me, it gotta be the lyric.
Yeah.
Anybody can come up with a dope beat. It gotta be the lyrics that gets you something relatable or just good feel good music. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that may make this next one harder or easy. Still in the same topic. I need one album. You only get one album to listen to for the rest of your life. What is that one album and why?
Oh man. Reasonable doubt.
Mm,
Reasonable doubt.
okay.
And the reason why I say that because that album right there, in particular, has a lot of truth to it, a lot of relatable truth to it. From becoming hit off the street, becoming a hustler, learning your way in the game, and progressing to become better. Just like doing sneakers. You start at the bottom, you work your way up, now you become the man, and now you're trying to figure out that next step after you become the man.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a great question. What would you say is your next step?
My next step would be actually like reconstructing shoes and having an actual brick and mortar. Because
Okay.
being where I'm at in Augusta, there's not a lot. There's not a lot for like the youth out here. So my main thing would be like starting up a brick and mortar and showing the youth how to create a custom from scratch or learn how to customize shoes or even take it as far as like showing them how to create a business for themselves. Whether it be a little side hustle for that summer, get the little school money up so they could buy them Jordans that they always wanted, or teaching them just art in general, or teach them how to, create flyers and stuff like that. Because I do everything myself. Like I'm self-taught in everything I do as far as my business, whether it be how to construct a banner, a business card, all that stuff. I learn myself. I watch videos and then I see where I could pick and choose from. And like, okay, I could do this. Oh, this is new. I'll learn this and put it all together. And I'm just self-taught. So, but yeah, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I feel like that the self-taught part is a big thing for people in this space and bringing other skills from other art or whatever and bringing it into this space when it comes to customizing um, shoes for sure. And a lot of it's trial by error. You know what I'm saying? Like just getting in there, jumping in and doing it. I know when I first started, I was using the wrong paint and everything. Uh, but it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's a process in learning. So
Mm-hmm.
if you were able to design a pair of shoes for one person, who would it be and what would you design?
Ooh. The person I would have to say is my mother. I haven't done one for her yet. And what would I do? It would be something don't having to do with roses because that's her favorite flower. So it'll be something of that nature. Probably added some history to it. Definitely would be a pair of Air Forces or maybe something out of the box to make it special. But that'd be the one person that I haven't done a shoot for that I would really love to do it. And I know if I put my all into it, she would definitely love it.
This episode is sponsored by Davidito Designs. Davidito Designs is my webpage, and that's where I sell my art. I take orders for customized shoes. You can go on there, fill out the request form. I'll get in touch with you. We can go back and forth, collaborate, figure out whatever idea, design you want to bring to life on a pair of shoes, and we can make that happen. Go over to my website, Davidito Designs. That's DAVIDESIGNS.com. Go ahead and cop yourself some merch like this. Order a pair of shoes. Support your boy. Next question: if there's somebody who's new or wanting to get into shoe customizing, what is one tip that you would give them?
Keep it simple. Start out simple, learn color blocking, such as doing a simple colorway. Just so you can get the feel, especially if you're doing it by hand. That would be the best thing I would tell them. Start simple. Something easy. It could be a simple colorway, splatter paint, something simple in nature. So just so you can get your feet wet and know what you're dealing with before you go out and buy all the expensive equipment like a whole airbrush compressors and then you like mad because you can't figure it out. Just start basic, I would say. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the beginning of that learning process for sure, in there. So I would like for you to speak to a little bit about like your journey and also being consistent, right? Like I feel like this is a very time consuming thing and it's a lot of manual labor. So there has to be a sense of resilience or something to continue to push you to move forward. Speak to that a little bit for me.
While being consistent, just staying at it. Don't overwork yourself. Because I know I've done it plenty of times. Is keep a steady pace, and just try your best not to overwork yourself because it do comes time consuming and tiring at times. But if you pace yourself and set a set schedule to do the custom, you pretty much be all right. Just don't overwork yourself.
Yeah. So how do you balance that, right? Like how you balancing life, work? I don't know if you're doing this full time or not. What does that look like for you on a day to day
I'm
basis? Trying to balance
definitely
it.
I'm definitely not doing it full time. But how I balance it, I just pretty much set like if I get a customer that comes in on a Monday and we chopping it up, figuring out what they want to do with their custom, usually by Wednesday or whenever they decide to approve the custom, I get started on it and I'll take maybe 3 to 4 hours out of the day on the custom each day. And I have a set day to take off so I can reset. Because if you just dragging and dragging and dragging, you're gonna get tired and you're gonna miss a step or not mix your paints right, and it can become drastic. So you just gotta pretty much pace yourself. That's what I try to do at least.
Yeah, and stepping away when you're frustrated or like you know what I'm saying, like your eyes are tired, like all those things, just being able to step away from it and come back to it and giving yourself enough cushion as far as your timeline with the customer too, I think is also important because stuff comes up and sometimes you got to start over because something went wrong or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah. Some people timeline takes like 3 to 4 weeks. Usually I'm like 7 to 10 days. Sometimes it depends on just the complex or how hard or difficult the custom may be, or how much they want on the custom. I say the longest I ever took on the custom was like 3 months. But I was rhinestoning the whole entire shoe though,
Mhm.
and that takes time and definitely a lot of got to pay definite attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Man, yeah, I don't think I would have the patience to do it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. But if you
Yeah.
if you spread your time out and you give the client that you're dealing with a timeline of how long that type of custom will take, and they cool with it, then you could pace yourself with it.
Yeah.
Just
So I haven't done I've seen a bunch of people putting rhinestones on shoes. I haven't done that yet. So could you walk us through what that process looks like? Prep the whole nine?
oh, okay. Basically, you're starting out with the shoe itself. You prep it as usual, acetone it. I would lightly sand it so it can have some grip to it as far as like the glue. Now, as far as the gluing, it depends on certain people preferences. Some people like to use uh, E6000. Some actually like to use it's called is either D or G7000. Me myself, I found me a actual customizer by the name of Gemafly, and that's his whole soul thing. He rhinestones anything that you can bring to him, from scooter bikes to sneakers to jerseys. So I really watched his methods, and I actually bought the glue that he uses, and it's pretty good. So with that and just doing the rhinestoning, it depends on what you're rhinestoning. If you're just doing a swoosh, it'll take you maybe an hour or so. But if you're doing a whole entire sneaker, it's going to take longer. And just section them off in panels. Just do them in sections. If you're starting on one side, just go on the other side or work your way around. And definitely give the glue time to solidify. And some people space their rhinestones. There's different techniques to space your rhinestones, or they just like to put them side by side. It just depends on the preference. But
Yeah.
but the outcome is pretty dope. Actually, doing the whole entire shoe.
So under the rhinestones, are you able to like paint? Are you able to paint under them, or do you go around like the edges of the leather and try to match the color up with the like? What does that look like?
If like the one I actually did was a royal blue. So all I did was create the actual color from whatever paint I had, whether it be Angeles, Jacquard, Cratex, and I laid down about two light coats, just enough to cover the actual white leather, and then I actually placed the rhinestones on there.
Okay. So sanding first, cleaning it off, couple light coats, and then
Yeah,
start applying.
yeah,
Hmm. I may have to look into that. Depends on if somebody wanted it or not.
yeah, yeah,
For sure, because that sounds like it takes quite a bit of time. I mean, but just doing a regular custom takes a lot of time too. So
yeah. And
yeah,
the ones that I did, it was actually for my daughter, so I had all the time in the world to finish them. So, but yeah, you just got to get a good base timeline on how you want to get it done, and it also depends on how big the shoe is. Because the smaller shoe, it'll take less rhinestones and probably less time. Because if you're doing a size 14 shoe, rhinestoning it, yeah, you're gonna be there a while.
yeah, yeah. And hopefully somebody willing to play a pretty penny because it's going to take some time.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm. Hmm. So one of the things that I always say is creating is problem solving, right? And there's different obstacles or whatever you have to face. What would you say one has been the biggest, like, I don't want to say mess up, but thing that you've had to fix? and then like talk us through like what that experience was.
One thing I had to fix was probably a shoe that I started one given time that I actually was dyeing the insole, and it was my first time doing it, and I was dyeing it, but the actual dye was bleeding onto the leather.
Mm.
So I had to figure out what I needed to do to fix that, and the only way I could have fixed it was to actually take all the paint back off and do it a whole different color. Because I was doing a dark blue insole with a light blue on the outside on the leather, and it just kept bleeding. I couldn't figure out why it was
Mm.
bleeding. Seen it done plenty of times, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna just use the dye. The dye's quicker." Yeah, I guess I was probably oversaturating it, or not at least trying to let it tack dry. Like if you heat up glue, tack get it tacky.
Yeah.
Try to heat set it a little bit. So that was like one of my overcome. That was one of my biggest problems I had in the beginning. And after that, I totally like stayed away from dyeing the insoles and stuff, especially around the sock line of the shoe. So I just went back to using the paint and the two soft or GAC 900 and just heat setting that.
Yeah, I haven't tried to use the dye either. I just, you know what I'm saying, do the same thing. Um, just thin out the paint and put it on there. Especially working with fabric shoes and that type of thing. So yeah, I hear you on that one. All right. Any last words outside of where people could find you at that you would like to share with the audience?
Besides me just being solely on TikTok, you can find me pretty much on everything except for Twitter. I try to stay away from Twitter because Twitter is that bad place you don't want to be in. Because everybody got a whole lot of business. I don't have time for it. I go where I'm welcome, and but it's Facebook, Instagram, so Soul Obsession 2020, TikTok. Um, I do have a website. It's under construction right now because I'm adding new stuff because I recently became a authorized vendor for designer leather. So I shut down the site so I can get that stuff put on there, and also my t-shirts, the t-shirt designing that I'm doing, graphic arts and stuff like that, digital artwork. So yeah, so that's my thing right now, getting that back up. But you can find me anywhere, especially if you have a link tree. You can find me on Linktree there, and it shows everything where I could be found at.
Okay, nice. Where did the name come from? Why did you pick that name?
Oh man, it came to me after because I originally started customizing shoes 10 years ago. Well, a little over 10 years ago, but I didn't know nothing whatsoever, and I had a name called Candy Kicks. And once I learned that at that time I couldn't customize shoes because my first custom was so horrible. I stopped doing it. Fast forward 10 years, I got back into it, and I was like, I need a name for this. I need something catchy. So I was looking at my sneakers one day, just messing around, painting them, and I was looking at the soles of them. I was like, soul. So, and a lot of people was always obsessed with Jordans.
Mm-hmm.
That two came together and came up with Soul Obsession, and it's been catchy ever since.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, sir. I appreciate you being on the
I appreciate
podcast.
this, man. I really do. Because I actually followed your podcast and I seen the interview that you did with Dylan, and I also saw the one that you did with KBK,
Yeah.
which is a good dude, friend of mine. And
Okay.
I said I gotta start. And there was another guy that I just started watching on YouTube. I can't remember his name, guy with a beard. And I started watching his YouTubes and seeing where he had as far as his custom work goes. And just nitpicking and seeing, I'm like, okay, I never tried that before. I gotta try it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I
excited. I
appreciate
got
the
some more
opportunity.
dope people coming up too. I've had been very, very fortunate to have some really, really dope customizers on. So I got a couple more that are coming up too that I'm excited for too. So yeah.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. I like the platform too, man, because not a lot of people think about us, and pick our brains. Mostly the questions we get, oh, how much they cost, what paint you use. And I try to be an advocate that, when I'm on my live on TikTok, ask me the rough questions. Because sometimes it gets tedious just sitting there and doing the show in front of everybody, which is cool. Because I even came up with a concept of doing viewers choice where every Saturday I let the viewers give me ideas to make a custom and I'll do it right there in front of them. And if they
That's dope.
like it, they can purchase it right there on the spot. Or um, if they don't like the shoe that I'm doing, but they like that custom and they want it on another shoe, I do that. And I usually do it on like Walmart shoes just to show that it doesn't matter what shoe you get,
Yeah.
you can create something fantastic from it.
Yeah. That's dope. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, no, that's you mentioned like doing this, but that was one of the reasons why I did it, right? Because one, I feel like while people admire art, they never like really one get to talk to the artist, but I also feel like how do I build a community and hear other people's stories and their journeys and all of those things and trying to bring it all into one space. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the reason why I started doing it. Then I fell off for a hot minute, and then I was like, I need to pick this back up. So
Yeah, it's definitely a dope platform you have, man. Because when I started looking into it, I was like, wow, he actually interview us in a different light. You show us in
yeah,
a different light. So I was like, that's dope. I appreciate it. I really do because not a lot of people actually take the time to pick a customizer's brain and see what their thoughts and how they come up with their concepts and what steps do they take to make a custom. But like I said, they always ask the simple questions: "Oh, what paint you use, or what kind of top coat you use?" It's like, yeah, da 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 da, and it just gets silent.
yeah, yeah,
And then I
yeah,
have some, and then I have some people like, oh wow, I need to learn what. Then they ask the hard questions: How do you use an airbrush, or what type of airbrush you use? I said, it all depends on your preference because I used from the cheapest one to the most expensive one, and I had to find me a happy middle, and I'm glad that I did because I had to do some research to find the one that I found now, one that I got now. Now I'm in love with it. So yeah, this is a very dope platform, man. I'm very appreciative that you asked me to come on here, and I'm looking forward to seeing whoever comes up next.
that has been another episode of the Lace From Up podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it. Go over to my website, davididodesigns.com, copy some merch, place an order for some custom shoes if you're interested. If you're not interested and you know somebody who is interested, let them know about it. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Share, tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Come and join, come and watch. I greatly appreciate it once again if you made it this far. And remember, fear is fake. Creating is problem solving. Peace.
Whoa. Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim core. Davidito, he'll cook it up like the kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.